have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Reality Rant's bigger show than I expected last night. Although I had an idea because Bilderberg 2023 was in Lisbon, Portugal, and some journalists, real journalists, people like Charlie Skelton and Dan Dix had already been there. Dan Dix, we played a brief video yesterday on the program, essentially confirming the hotel, showing that the barricades were now being put up. And now we have the full list, which we're going to go down the line on. 1, 2, 3, 4, right at the top of that list. Stacey Abrams. They love Stacey Abrams for some reason. This is not her first Bilderberg. Far from. They really like Stacey Abrams, who can't seem to win an election. But when she claims election fraud, and I'm not saying it didn't happen, because maybe it did, both sides cheat. We've got to get out of this illusion that it's only one side doing things, okay? And that's essentially what this is really going to be about anyway, right? So you saw the thumbnail. You saw the Netflix logo, you saw the Disney logo, and you saw Conor McGregor, who, since we're talking about this in the first hour, we got to be real careful that we don't cyberbully anybody. There is a multitude of information and mainstream articles in the foreign press where they could not name Conor McGregor by name, but it has been confirmed to be him, which overwhelmingly suggests that this man is a brutal, serial, violent abuser of women. I'm not going to use the R word, although that is absolutely appropriate in this case. And why am I talking about this again? Jason, you've been talking about this for years. Is anything going to get done? I don't know. But I know I'm not going to stop talking about it because it's the truth and it's right. Okay? Right and wrong. But on the right, I see people falling for the McGregor nonsense. And it's because of the Bermas Brigade, really, that I even found this. Okay? So let's start here. I replied to Jackson Hinkle. And look, I'm not even going to make this about Jackson Hinkle because I've got to be honest. I really don't know much about him. Don't know much about the guy. Oops, we don't want to go there yet. Here it is right here. The new McGregor Forever series on Netflix is phenomenal. Proper cheers to the notorious MMA. And, you know, Juanita Broderick, some years ago now, tweeted something about McGregor. And to her credit, I contacted her. She contacted me back, and I sent her the thread and said, hey, look at what this... I believe you, Juanita. Let's take a look at this evidence. So, again, not coming after Hinkle. I just know he's kind of on the right. I think guys like my friends Pasta have done programs with him before in the past. And, again, I've never seen anything on the kid. And he's a younger guy. I don't want to call him a kid. I think he's like early to mid-20s, okay? So I said, this should be a lesson in propaganda for you and how effective it is just on an entertainment, Hollyweird sports level. McGregor is a violent serial you-know-whatski. Here is a thread to get you started. Okay, now, before I even present the thread, I'm gonna put it to you like this. All right? Is there any point in your lifetime, men, okay, biological men, we're just gonna throw it out to you. I'm not saying women couldn't do this. I'd say it'd be a lot more difficult in the reality scale. Men, have you ever had what is claimed to be consensual sex with a woman where the woman was beaten so badly she was hospitalized for days with bruises all over her body and blood all over her body? And have you ever turned yourself in to police for that consensual activity within 24 hours of it occurring, and then the police sending you on their way because there was no report of such an activity? I mean, that alone. I mean, if you can look me in the eye and said you've had consensual sexual activity with somebody you hospitalized for days, I might call you a liar. I might call you a liar. So I don't think it's possible for that to be a real thing, and yet we're supposed to believe that with all the available evidence. McGregor did not even get arrested or questioned until almost a month after the incident occurred in late December of 2018. We're going to be 5 years on from this event real soon, guys. And this isn't the only event. Like, we're going to go through the thread a little bit. Then we're going to get to the Bilderberg. Don't worry. We're going to name the whole list. Busy show today. But this is the microcosm, right? We can't tell the truth about somebody that makes Netflix money. We can't tell the truth about somebody that makes Disney, which is an incredible empire right now. Disney, ESPN, UFC money. So, look, I have a tweet here. And it's not just this reply, okay? It's a bigger one. It says, I want everybody to see it because it has this in quotes. I think it's important. I want to get this out. This is where we can use the power of the internet together. Hey, Bermas Brigade, help me amplify this one. We have to stop acting like Disney, the UFC, and ESPN are not aware that Conor McGregor is a violent serial you-know-what and belongs in prison. That's where he belongs, rest of his life. Shouldn't be near anybody that's not in a jail cell amongst him, okay? We all act like we want to change the world. Here is a chance just to lift the veil a little bit. Imagine this became my biggest tweet ever. Imagine this was finally the one, right? Just so like a guy like Hinkle, who has, a modest following, but he has to acknowledge it. Right? That's why I'm doing it in this tag tweet. He has to acknowledge it. Is he going to just ignore this? He's going to ignore the thread we're going to go over? All the evidence? It's ridiculous. So I'm going to put it into the YouTube chat really quick again. And I want people to spread it, put it out there. If you're looking at the tweet, and you can just follow me at Jason Bermas right now and go over and retweet. Look, it's only got 19 retweets. I want 1,000. Let's get there. I want to eventually be blocked from this criminal. All right? And you know, guys, I'm a big MMA fan. I do an MMA podcast now for the last several years with John Fitch, Mixed Martial Mindset. Love it. I call fights for the local organization here for the last 2 years. Caged Aggression. Good friends with UFC legend Pat Miletich. I'm supposed to be having lunch sometime this week. Perhaps, it might actually end up being this afternoon with Jens Pulver, who just got into the UFC Hall of Fame. I understand that by doing this, I'll never get a job with them. Not that, I'm some kind of mega broadcaster, but the apex of mixed martial arts in the sports world and in the broadcasting world would be with the UFC. Can't get any bigger. I've sacrificed that 100 times over, and I always will, because I'm not going to shut my mouth about this. And look, I talk about Trump all the time and his faults. Let's talk about some of the alternative media's fault. Or if you can even call it the alternative media. I love Joe Rogan. Some of the most interesting podcasts out there. I was recently listening to him and Stephen Wright. An 80s comedian I grew up with as a kid. Very dry, dull, cerebral humor. I enjoy that stuff. If you don't think Joe Rogan is amongst that big group that I just said that knows what I'm about to tell you is true, of course he does. Of course he does. Just like Dana White. Of course he knows this. Dana White has, actively participated in protecting McGregor. 100%. Right? It's just like, I think I briefly brought this up yesterday when we talked about Giuliani. I want to show this quick before we go back to the thread. Giuliani associate told ex-CIA officer a Trump pardon would cost $2 million. That's John Kiriakou. That's someone I actually do trust. That's January of 21. And now the new allegation is out there that that's exactly what they were doing with selling them. If you don't think that's a possibility, they were doing that. Again, you might not be living in the real world. You might have a blind spot to fantasy. All right? And the fantasy that was put on by Netflix, I haven't watched it, this series. It's propaganda, man. They're selling you an image, not the reality. So this here is an extensive thread. Down the line, we'll show you. I just really need to read some of these quotes from these articles to really just break down. You had a member, by the way, of Irish Parliament, not able to name the name, but talking about McGregor and his buddies going around doing whatever with impunity, okay? And no one seems to want to prosecute these guys in Ireland. And the allegations extend beyond Ireland. Remember the boat incident, right? She dropped the charges. Weird. Everybody just drops the charges or they don't get their day in court. Now, this person did not get their day in court. And it's incredible. It's blasphemous. At the end of the day, there is no doubt that this young lady suffered a horrendous ordeal. The examination and not some guys, all of the evidence shows that she was raped and very badly assaulted in that penthouse suite. Now I'm going to click that. And if you look at the Irish sports star victim too afraid to give statement. She can give statement for almost a month. Okay? So let's just click on that really quick. Just so everybody understands, I don't make up quotes. Let's just deny you, Irish Central, any kind of cookies that you want right here. So the article's here. A senior police source told the Irish Independent newspaper. Okay? It's the Irish Independent, daring to report on this in the beginning. The victim is too afraid to make a formal complaint at the moment, but that could change at a later date. And it does eventually. The police told Irish Mirror detectives in the scenes of crime, Gardaí, arrived at the hotel on Tuesday evening. The focus was to gather CCTV and examine any potential scene in a room and find traces that could identify the attacker through DNA. Okay? And they tell you right here, no arrests have been made. Huh. And they aren't made. Just insanity. Insanity. This is in South Dublin. Okay? Now, think about what they said. They got DNA evidence and then CCTV evidence. So that's just part of all of the evidence. All right? Talk about the statements in detail, too. Let's see. I want to read it, make sure. Look, at the end of the day, there is no doubt. No doubt that this young lady suffered a horrendous ordeal. That's it. I'm sorry. And you can tell me, have a trial. Yeah, I'm all for trials. Let's present the evidence. All right? When you look at these, Okay, well, these are just more articles. This is a single mom found battered and bruised. The statements made, okay, this is part of that evidence, are hugely detailed and complex and go into the minute detail of every aspect on the night of that attack. She resisted. She had marks of choking around her neck shortly after the incident. And by the way, guys, this is this is the Irish Mirror. Daily Mail out in Ireland also reported on it. They milk toasted a lot of it. Okay? Bruising after the alleged attack, where there were also suggestions of bleeding. Again, you keep going down and you're not even to the arrest yet. And here's the CCTV that's been downloaded. Forensically, the hotel had been scrubbed, right? Blood-stained clothing on the woman being examined. And it was McGregor's DNA all over her. And Connor told the police it was consensual. It is understood that during the interview, the suspect admitted he had sex with the woman, claiming it was consensual. Okay? And by the way, not a gold digger. Had an opportunity to take money, wanted criminal charges, now had to bring it to the United States for a civil suit that's still going on. There were leaked WhatsApp messages, by the way. All before it came out, this was McGregor. You know, all the sports stories. Had never been questioned. Had the numbers of journalists that were covering him in there. And unfortunately, I hate to be graphic, but we got to do it. We got to be really careful because we don't want to get kicked off. But bottom line is that this describes a possibility of the entire attack. You want to read it. It's out there. It's on that thread. Okay? He didn't use a condom. Did something inside her. Left her covered in bruises and had throat injuries that were consistent with someone held in a chokehold, like the ones he applied in the ring. His DNA was all over her. He tried to ride her with the V and rammed her tampon up into her cervix, so she had to have it surgically removed. And then allegedly went somewhere else with it too. I mean, think about how horrific this ordeal is, and then there's suggestions that this isn't the only time this has happened. And then you have women jumping off of boats saying their life was in danger. No big deal. No big deal. But, hey, there's a new Netflix series, and there's a new season of Tough coming out. The Ultimate Fighter could be bigger than ever. Huh? That matters, right? So, I missed the commercial break on my rant. We're going to go to a sponsor. I totally lost myself in that because this is something that actually makes me angry and upset because we can't even get this truth out there. So now a word from our sponsor. I'm sorry we didn't hit the mark, guys.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? This little-known order implemented the digital dollar, the most sinister plan to control your spending. And it gets worse. In November, the federal government and banks began a test program to roll out the digital dollar. With this, privacy for all Americans will be lost forever. Imagine, the government can now track all of your spending. The government can tell you what you can and can't buy. The government could confiscate your cash. When digital currency was rolled out in China, Bloomberg wrote, quote, "This will lead to control like no other," end quote. The EU has announced that they are next, but it is already happening in America, which makes this wealth protection guide that American Alternative Assets just put out even more urgent. Project Hamilton, as this secret order is being called, might be the scariest order to happen to privacy and freedom in America since its founding, which makes this wealth protection guide so incredibly valuable right now. Move your money out of cash and into something that doesn't infringe on your privacy. You see, there is one legal IRS-proof loophole that could protect your IRA, 401k, and pension savings with gold and silver. And this free guide tells you exactly which steps you need to take right now to move part of your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax consequences. As this program rolls out, the sky's the limit for the level of government control that could be enforced on your money. Protect your savings and your privacy. But in the devastation ahead, American Alternative Assets is offering you something rare, a chance to protect your wealth and possibly even grow it.
All right, I'm going to try to cool down, shift gears a little bit into Bilderberg 2023. But yeah, man, that's just, it's so important that we even get that out there. So once again, guys, follow on Twitter. Please, let's retweet, not this one, but this one right here. Let's get this one out. Let's do it. I want the retweets. I want that to be amplified. So he's got to at least look at it. We should make everybody who's praising this guy look at it. Just like we need everybody to be looking at what are we talking about at Bilderberg. Topics that matter. Let's start it down. AI. And recently we had, I think it was like 2-3 days ago, the hearings with the founder of ChatGPT, everybody. I have not watched them. I think what I've seen, at least covered in the media, is beyond somewhat obvious. I worry that this is going to be used as a control mechanism to try to legally stamp out competition. In other words, just like they don't want you to have access to all media, just like they don't want the general public to have access to all the January 6th footage, just like they don't want the public to have access to all the January 5th footage of what? The pipe bomber. The stuff they're showing us is minuscule. They don't want you to have access, just like they didn't want us to have access to the footage of the Pentagon. Oh, did he go there? Hey, I'm just saying, they restricted that too. Restrict a lot of access to information. And I think they want to restrict access to the utilization of AI. Why? So they can control it and they can use the tools of justified fear to manufacture consent. As Chomsky would say, the Epstein buddy. Hey there, Chomsky. You weren't limited hangout. Sure not. I mean, you're just the Epstein buddy. So AI, the banking system, China, energy transition. Oh, you're not getting a choice according to these people. We all sit here, we talk about Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and the Davos crowd. Guess where it's coming from? These guys and gals. And again, Stacey Abrams, top of the list. Ann Applebaum. I think Applebaum might be a steering member at this point of the Atlantic. They want to control the narrative, and they want to transition you out of the energy grid and into their smart slavery grid. So get ready for that. That's great. Fiscal changes as it happens. Europe, India, industrial policy and trade. Oh, NATO. Going to try to strengthen that right next to NATO. Of course, Russia. Transnational threats, Ukraine, and then U.S. leadership. U.S. leadership at the Chatham House Rules event. Hush, hush. Don't talk too much. So basically, again, how much of this is the United States, at least on the surface, balls deep in? Plenty. All of it. All of it on a multitude of levels. Okay? So that's the agenda. Those are the talking points they've now put out. And, man, again, props to Charlie Skelton. He had it. Lisbon, Portugal, 100%. Did it big. So let's go down the list. I'm going to know some of these names. I'm going to not know some of these names. Although I'll tell you what, this Deutsche Bank story is really interesting because guess what just happened with Deutsche Bank? What do you mean story? So that's Paul Achleitner, and he's the global advisory board over at Deutsche Bank. And I wonder if he had any say in the now settled. They've settled for $75 million. $75 million. We're on the heels of this one. So we were talking about how the Muskernuts has been deposed in this case, that Jamie Dimon has been deposed in this case. I have spoken about and suggested numerous times, this is the one to follow. They've got discovery. They're getting emails. All right, they're connecting dots. So yeah, right now, people who are involved in this, they're ready to pay up. Unless they're ready to burn other people. They think they can get away with it. But what's cost effective? What's going to keep the brand going? That's the reality. Okay? So let's continue on. Let's keep Bilderberging. We're Bilderberging. Let's thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. By the way, also over on Twitter, I have tweeted out the entire list in a text format because I have that blue check mark. I can do it so people can more easily copy and paste, and they don't necessarily just have to come to the Bilderberg official website to get this. By the way, Kissinger here. This may be his last one. Who knows? Who knows? And maybe after Kissinger goes, they'll just have like large scale, really high level occultic seances with CERN technology and summon the ghost of Henry Kissinger. I mean, I'm being at jest here, but I hope you're getting the dark humor, everybody. And it is very, very dark humor. So the professor of economics at the University of Toronto, again, academia here, media here, think tanks here, a lot of high-level puppets and minions here. Let's see. Jose Manuel Alvarez, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Sam Altman. Oh, old Sammy boy. That's who we were talking about. Old Sammy boy is the CEO of OpenAI, and he was just there warning Congress that it's dangerous. Now he's over at the Bilderberg ski. Isn't that lovely? See how that works, guys? Old Sam Altman there. Weird. Marco Alvera, co-founder Zero.net, CEO TES. Magdalena Andersson, leader of the Social Democratic Party in Sweden. Okay, so we got, again, a lot of Europeans. This is that Anglo-American kind of power structure. There's Ann Applebaum. Here's that. Yeah. Again, twilight of democracy, the seductive lure of authoritarianism. And really when they write about this stuff, and I have a Atlantic Council, not the Atlantic, but obviously a mouthpiece for that, Atlantic Council, talking about their liberal world order and how it's under attack. I think all the way back in, could be as far back as 2018. I'm pretty sure it's pre-COVID 1984. And it's the liberal order we built. We built it on democracy. We built this city. Every time they talk, they love to wrap themselves in democracy. So yeah, staff writer over at The Atlantic. Jose Luis Arnott, managing partner, CMS. Oh, by the way, Borla, of course, is here. We're about to get to him anyway, but that's Mr. Pfizer himself. Isn't that lovely, too? You see how that works? There he's right over my shoulder. We'll get to him in a second. Oh, the hits keep coming. We're only on A still. Gabriel Attal, Minister for Public Accounts over in France. Let's see. Francisco Benito Balsameo, the chair of the Impreza Group. Patricia Babizet, chair and CEO. What is that? Tamaris and Associates. I mean, it looks like it's pretty European heavy there. Probably why they had it in Lisbon, Portugal. But here we go. The chair of international advisor for Goldman Sachs, Jose Manuel Barroso. Sorry about that. Valerie Bodson, CEO, Amundi SA. I don't know that one. Minister of Transport over at France, Clement Boin. And I'll tell you why he's there right there. Because they're building their smart city infrastructure as they're cutting off the power, and they're getting ready to promote that 15 to 20 minute city grid for your social credit score. That's the real deal. This is the meeting that all you guys in the quote unquote alt conservative or alt right media, where are you, Newsmax? Hey, OAN, why was I telling your head guy what the Bilderberg group was last year? Like a year ago. I was trying to explain to him what this thing was and why it was important. I'd love for you guys to do a big thing on this. Again, Stacey Abrams is at the top. It's a big deal. And another big deal is checking out a word from our sponsor. Back after this.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog
Whoa,
beds.
whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Use the promo code RVM as I interrupt that commercial. Let's keep going down the line. I do want to remind everybody. See, we're half an hour into this, and I haven't even told people about the second hour and where you can find it and why you want to go over to Rumble and subscribe to the Red Voice Media channel, because that's where you get not only myself, but from 9 a.m., look at the little scroll underneath, 9 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. They got a whole live stream. So you just go to the big live stream. It's got the date on it. It says RVM. You're subscribed. You got the notifications on there. That's where you can find the second hour. Again, I'm asking everybody to go over to my Twitter and tweet out that McGregor thing. Right? I should have it pinned. I don't have it pinned. The links are in at least the YouTube chat. Get it around. Send it out there. Send it to the other chat rooms. We need to get that out there. And then we need to blast this too, right? Let's get some small victories. And it would be really no small victory, to expose the hypocrisy of Disney and WME Entertainment and Ari Emanuel, okay? The UFC, and how our society is still aggrandizing people that are absolutely and totally repugnant, and they feel they're above the law, and yet they're pushed in this celebritard culture as something to be worshipped. So that is a big win. Bigger win is we can get the mainstream, or at least the semi-mainstream conservative press to start covering this. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to. Hey, Rebel News, I know you probably are going to cover this year. I know you were at Davos. I know you got Borla there. If you don't have somebody on the scene at Lisbon, Portugal, why not? Why not? It matters. Like I said, French Minister of Transport, Sally Benson, USA Professor of Energy Science and Engineering at Stanford University. We're going to have to trust some science. We got some energy transition to talk about. Let's bring in the professor from Stanford. Let's capture academia. Special advisor to the board of Shell. I believe that's the Netherlands right there. Ben van Beerden. We have Anna Borg, President and CEO, Vattenfall AB. Joseph Borrell, Vice President of the European Commission. Anna P. Botten, Group Executive Chair, Banco, what does that say? Santander SA. And there he is, the man himself, Borla, the chair and CEO of Pfizer. Walking on sunshine. Yeah. Yeah. Thumbs up, subscribe, and share, everybody. Let's keep going down the line. Kirsten Brethen, from Norway, the CEO of DNB ASA. Borge Brende of Norway, the president of the World Economic Forum. Oh, I didn't look at that. He's the president. What's Klaus Nutzschwab's title? If this guy's the president. But there it is right there, guys. I keep trying to explain to people the World Economic Forum gets the vast majority of its talking points from the Bilderberg group, which only meets once a year, but wants to plot out that year and bring in some key players They tell you it's like 120 to 140 of the key players from around the globe. And then you got that inner circle of about 20 or so steering members, like Henry Kissinger, who's there again. Together again. Kissinger and Bilderberg together again. Oh, let's continue down the line. Dolf van den Brink, Netherlands, CEO of Heineken. Interesting, NV. Let's see. Martin Broadmiller. I wonder, is Heineken NV? I want to look it up. I want to see it, make sure that that's actually what I think it is. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it is the Heineken company. There it is. I don't know that I've ever seen a brewer there. I wonder if that's Mulvaney backlash. That's something to think about. Because look, they're trying to change the social fabric of our society on behalf of a predator class transhuman agenda. And look, a big part of that, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, of that transhuman agenda is from transgender to transhuman. There's the book, right? And if you don't think that this is a global thing, I'm going to show you a little evidence otherwise. This is the latest push by Starbucks internationally because, again, this is globalization. They want it all and they want it every stinking where. So here it is. Starbucks goes trans.
सुनो, इस बार गुस्सा मत होना प्लीज.
Don't get angry this time. Your son just walked in as a daughter, okay? We got the heartstring piano music. We got the sympathetic mother, the full hug, and then the barely touch. And the disappointed dad. Don't worry, Starbucks gonna make it all better.
Thank you, Papa, for meeting me. I know बड़े साल बीत गए.
It's been years.
लेकिन आप आज भी मेरे लिए सब कुछ हो.
But I love you, Pappy. You mean the world to me. Now I gotta ask you. Do you think this is a huge issue that's at the forefront in India, or do you think this is an agenda that's being promoted?
Coffee. तेरी आदतें नहीं बदली.
I guess your habits haven't changed too much. We haven't seen each other in years, but that's what I'm concerned with, getting you a coffee and acknowledging your new identity.
3 cold coffees for Arpita.
He put the A at the end.
3 cold coffees for Arpita.
बेटा, मेरे लिए तो आज भी मेरा बच्चा है.
You're still my kid. And listen, man, no parent should abandon their child under any circumstance. See how manipulative this is? This is a real manipulation. And I promise you, at the end of the day, it is of a transhuman one. So you separate yourself from your biology. And here comes the heartstrong Starbucks message at the end.
बस एक लेटर ही तो ऐड हुआ है तेरे नाम में.
We just had to add a letter to your name. That's all. Probably going to get a copyright strike for that. We're a happy family again. Everything's okay. And look, there's a lot of absurdity going on here. I want to find this story. Where is it? Here it is, right here. Okay. This is a push. Make no mistake about it. This is an agenda. This is a push. This is global. You're seeing it in India with Starbucks. This honestly is ESG. This is UN. All right. And once again, this is to get you to disassociate from reality. So this person right here is on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit 2023. That's a biological man, or it would have been if it wasn't a child who was put on hormone blockers at the age of 12. Okay, they're glorifying that. Then they're putting, again, they're hitting you from all angles. Then they're putting Martha Stewart on the cover. I want to play this Jesse Waters clip. Again, Waters, sometimes all right. This should be covered more. It has to be covered more. Like, look, you do you as an adult. I don't want a dad to abandon his child. That's ridiculous. Okay? It's called unconditional love for a reason within your family. Just saying that. What they're doing is taking it to the next step and what? Putting it forward that your child has autonomy over you as a child. All right? And you don't have a say, and you're a bigot if you think otherwise. Meanwhile, they ram this stuff down your throat on purpose. Why? Because it's an all-out psychological and biological attack on humanity.
Remember when the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition actually meant something? It was a big event. Kids would line up, waiting for it to come in the mail, going to 7-Eleven. Not me. I was much more civilized. It launched Kate Upton's career, made Tyra Banks a legend. Those days are gone. This year, Sports Illustrated put a transgender model on the cover. Yeah, Kim Petras. She was born a man and removed it at 17. Remember when people got upset when Sports Illustrated put a plus-size model on the cover? This year, hold my beer. We're putting a transgender model on the cover. Speaking of beer, do you remember commercials like these?
And by the way, that stuff was ridiculous too. It's totally ridiculous, but it had a demographic. And you see how all this kind of integrates and comes full circle to what we were just talking about via Bilderberg, and they have Heineken there. Let's bring in Heineken. How are we doing this, Heineken? Can you quarterback the Mulvaney situation? We really screwed Anheuser-Busch. Thumbs up, subscribe, and share, everybody. Remember, RVMRumble.com. That's where you're going to find that second hour. Coming up shortly.
And those twins. It was simple. Men like beer, men like women in bikinis, men like those commercials, and then they bought the beer. Everybody wins. But now the beer industry feels the need to apologize. They want you to feel bad for liking twins. Here's a recent commercial from Miller Lite.
Look at this wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up not just their but the whole beer industry's Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this and buying it back so that they can turn it into good for women brewers.
First, we turn the bad into compost. Then we feed compost to worms. Push out beautiful fertilizer.
I mean, again, it's a big joke, right? Look, I was in the alcohol industry for some time before I got back into this full time. When I was just working for We Are Change part-time after I went to Bilderberg 2017. All right, there are women in that industry. They're usually on the distribution end. Same in the liquor industry, et cetera. They're usually in sales. I have rarely seen a woman brewer, and I've taken many a brewery tour, starting with when I was 17 at Busch Gardens, by the way. But again, reality doesn't matter. We're at the inversion of reality. You get it? We're at the inversion of reality. Let's finish this up, and then we'll do a word from our sponsor.
That good helps farmers grow quality hops.
But there's definitely more out there. In your attic, in the garage, in your parents' basement. Send any you got into Miller Lite, and they'll turn that into good too.
You hear that, America? Those commercials with pretty girls were bad. And you're bad for liking them. I mean, I don't care who brews my beer. Mexicans, women, Germans, trans. Pour it down my throat and stop preaching to me.
But everything is about preaching to us at this point. So a final word from our sponsor in this hour. We do put one at the end, little IP vanish action, rvmvpn.com. But I want to remind people, second hour coming up hot and heavy, Bilderberg 2023. You're not going to want to miss it, just like you're not going to want to miss this.
Folks, we have a huge problem on our hands. A banking crisis is spiraling, and it's all thanks to the current administration's reckless spending, sky-high inflation, and massive interest rate hikes. Now, these banks are suffering, and guess what? They can legally seize your savings without notice to bail themselves out. That's right. Thanks to a sneaky law passed back in 2008, it's now legal for banks to take your hard-earned money, including your retirement savings, to save themselves. Now, this could leave your retirement accounts decimated, and you paying the price for their disastrous policies. Take action now before it's too late. Now, this guide will show you how to defend your money and keep your retirement savings safe from the banking crisis and the current administration's financial fiasco. This simple and 100% legal strategy may help you protect your retirement against higher taxes, soaring inflation, and a volatile economy. So don't let your golden years be ruined by someone else's mistakes. To secure your free wealth protection guide and safeguard what's rightfully yours, don't wait. The time to act is now.
You mentioned the Club of Rome. I'm going to throw it to you because we have put out The Limits of Growth. In fact, there was a documentary, Paul Ehrlich. We've done the watch along here on that. We continually put out people from this mindset that back then, the crazy thing about The Limits of Growth and their supercomputer is there was no amount of data that they could put in where there wasn't a complete and total failure of society anyway. And like it was as grim as it gets no matter what. And then you ask yourself, why would you even listen to these people, Steve?
Well, because they're the people, as we talked about at the top of the show, in terms of the Bilderberg attendees, who set policy. So when you gather, as they did, you know, some of the European industrialists, academics, things like that, in the early 70s, especially coming out of that UN population symposium in 1969, almost all of the same faces turn up in the Limits of Growth as part of the co-authors, members of the Club of Rome at the time. There's this I don't know, overriding theme of, yes, of course, society is going to fail. However, you still need to let the technocracy manage it, because otherwise it's going to be so much worse. And these are the exact same methods that have been put in place, particularly in China, but also in, Nigeria, right? Where they're on CBDC right now. Mm-hmm. India is going away from cash almost entirely. We had Sri Lankan farmers that had to use a QR code to get fuel. In Iran, they were on the QR code for food. We had the training exercise during COVID where people had to flash their QR code papers in order to get into a lot of those punk band shows who played 2-minute songs.
That wasn't even a drill here. I mean, you had to do that on the Illinois side. You know, they did that. They rolled that out. And it wasn't just like that for concerts in places like Israel, where you couldn't go shopping for groceries if you didn't adhere to that. And I want to take you somewhere else outside of the nation state. You talked about blockchains. You talked about really QR codes and scans that integrates with the biometrics that was beta tested during the War of Terror. And outside of the nation states, Steve, what do they have? Blockchain people at refugee camps around the world where there is global conflict going outside of the nation state and their laws, and directly bringing in the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, blockchain technology, their biometric information, an allotment of what food you're allowed to have, and where you can get your jobs. That's something that is bragged about by Davos in their little blockchain people.
Get the whole story.
And you know, that's a segment from a great interview that's available on Premium right now with Steve Poikonen of Slow News Day. We talk about Bilderberg, we talk about the Club of Rome, and a plethora of other things. You can see it in full by going to redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. $10 a month. You can actually try it for $1 for the first week, so you can actually get all the interviews in, all the Bermas you can handle. Right now we got 4 up from the past 2 weeks. Powell, Dupree. By the way, Alicia Powell breaking big stuff over at the Gateway Pundit on January 6th. I think Bannon and Hoft covered it on the Bannon show yesterday. Great interview with her. Then this week we came back with Zach Voorhees. I may play a clip of that via narrative management in a moment, and big tech. And then, of course, Steve Poikonen. What's coming up this weekend? We got Jay Dyer and then another surprise special guest. You will eat the bugs. The Jay Dyer interview is fire. That's going to, again, be available this weekend. So consider supporting the broadcast. Please. Could not do it without you. Just impossible to do without you. You know, I have a clip on the Club of Rome and what it's actually about and its origin story I want to play. We just played the Starbucks clip. We played the Sports Illustrated clip. This is about narrative control and management. That's a big part of what they're doing there here. Again, we're still on the B's, and we're talking about OpenAI, again, narrative management. The World Economic Forum, narrative management. The Atlantic, narrative management. Academia, narrative management. Heineken, for some reason, when beer has all of a sudden hit the culture wars, they're hitting you from every single angle. And a lot of this is not new. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this other clip with myself and Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. Again, this is part of that premium. So you see the scroll, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Please consider signing up, supporting the broadcast. That's how we're going to continue to give you 8 hours free. Let me repeat that. 8 hours free of the Bermas Brigade here every single week and more. Okay? And more if you want to pay for it, if you want to support it. And I do appreciate it because we could not do it without you. Here is just a small portion of that discussion with Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. The Twitter files only went back a few years. I want to see from when they went public, really. From the time that they went public as a corporate entity, bare minimum, and you really want to see what infrastructure was in place before that.
Right.
Because there was obviously censorship. I've had my Twitter, I think, since 2010 or 11. I have to kick, scream, and crawl to get that thing elevated. My analytics are, listen, I just paid for the blue check mark, not because I wanted to, but because they took away Media Studio and I couldn't stream my show there anymore. So I literally now have to pay, and I can only put it in 1 hour increments after the fact. Still can't stream. You know, that was the only way around that. And now they're saying, and I hope it's true, you know, with Tucker Carlson coming over, and, you know, he's not perfect, but he was the last guy in mainstream media telling any semblance of the truth. If he comes over and it becomes more like a YouTube platform, and he's already said this woman is going to make it into X, whatever that means, the everything app. This may be the YouTube of 2013 to 18, where you could still make money on it. I'd love to see that happen. Personally, I don't believe in leprechauns and unicorns, okay? So I'm not sure it's going to happen. What are your thoughts on that, especially given the fact that the FBI can already intervene with the algorithm? We have programs like Signature Reduction, which is the secret military doing the same exact thing. The CIA also obviously involved from Mockingbird on. Can we get a fair shake in the algorithm and, quote-unquote, artificial intelligence, Zach?
No. Absolutely not. We're on a one-way path towards a really different future than the past that we were used to. And, you know, people are like, well, why is this QAnon thing happening? Why is the media lying? Why is everything, you know, so weird? And the reason is that we're entering into a very special period of time. And what's happening is that we're coming into the age of artificial intelligence.
Get the whole story on Red Voice Media Premium using the link below, completely uncensored and ad-free.
That is redvoicemedia.com/uncensored if you want to support the broadcast. Just a few more minutes until we go over to the second hour, which is uncensored, and you can find over at the RVM Rumble. Make sure you're following us there. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you're thumbing up. You're commenting, not just in the live stream, but in the comments below. You're interacting. You're emailing the links. You're watching the documentaries, and you're getting the info out to the masses. Let's keep going down that line. So after Mr. CEO of Pfizer, Borla, and after, let's see, we did Breath, we did the World Economic Forum, we did Heineken. We're on Martin Brood-Muller, the CEO, BASFE. From France, Thomas Boubarel, that is the CEO of AXA. And by the way, so many banking interests here, of course. I mean, they're talking about the financial structure of the globe. Why wouldn't they have the banksters there? The banks to gangstas. We've got Thomas Byrne, Minister of Sport and Physical Education. Then we have and that's out of Ireland, we have Canada's Mark Carney, the Vice Chair of the Brookfield Asset Management Group. Ignacio Cassis, it looks like that's out of what, the Czech Republic? Federal Council, Federal Department of Foreign Affairs. Remember, NATO is a big discussion here too. Henri de Castries, he's one of those guys every single year. Out of France, the president of the Institute Montaigne. Christopher Cavoli, the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe. Again, you're talking NATO action, talking military crew. Let's keep going down the line. Mehmet Faith Saylan, the president of Ankara Policy Center. How about that? Torin Shabara, the Senior Director of Technology and National Security on the National Security Council. Yeah, you want to talk Logan Act. You want to talk about treasonous behavior. This is it. This is the real deal. This is something that Ron Paul talked about, that these meetings were congruent with the fact that these people could be colluding with one another and committing treason with one another. Yet the narrative that gets managed is we're the treasonous ones for pointing this out. We're succumbing to Russian disinformation and quickly becoming what? Domestic extremists or even terrorists. And then you don't have any due process, any rights at all. They just run you over because they've set that society up through lies and Bernaysian talking points, and then eroding the Constitution and Bill of Rights through code, through law, through the real misinformation and disinformation. Sometimes just through authoritarian executive order dictate. And that happens a lot more than you'd like to admit. But you got to admit it because it's happening. It's happening! Jose Crujas, the chair of the Grupo Planeto and Astres Media. So more media. That's of Spain. Let's see. Conrad de Blocker, the chair of the KBC Group NV. Former director of the National Economic Council out of the USA, Brian Deese. Pascal Donahue, the president of Eurogroup. Matthias Doffner, chair and CEO of Axel Springer SE. He's an interesting guy because he's been confronted by Luke Rudowski. Also did that sit down with Elon Musk where the Muskernuts, to his credit, spoke out against overpopulation. One more commercial break, then we're going to head to the second hour. I'm going to briefly come back to YouTube, tell you where you can find it. But first, check out IPVanish. I use it. You can use it too. RVMVPN.com.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you, Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IPVanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IPVanish.
All right, everybody. That is going to wrap it up for YouTube. One more time, rvmrumble.com, or just find Red Voice Media over there. Again, it'll have the big logo. It's got the live stream going. Second hour, totally free. You want to support us, go to redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Sign up. Tell them Jason Bermas sent you. And then you get those 2 interviews that we just gave you a couple minutes of today. Steve from Slow News Day, Zach the Google whistleblower. We got more coming up this week, and Jay Dyer. Do remember, though, no matter what, all of my documentary films, they are free of charge, and they are out there for you to share. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture.